Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. We're all familiar with the term damsel in distress, the helpless female who always has to be rescued by the male, and in return turns herself into the reward. It's a cliche as old as time itself. But in recent years, it's gone through sort of an equal rights movement. We've discovered that even males have to be rescued once in a while, and that truly, stupidity knows no gender. But god damn it, do they have to be so obnoxious? The cliche is bad enough, but when a character clearly shows that he or she can take care of themselves, it just pisses you off when you're the one who has to save them in the end. Or on top of that, if they're just annoying as hell to begin with. Now I'm not talking about all repeat hostages. For example, April O'Neil got captured all the time, but she was also funny, clever, and had a very likable personality. Indiana Jones's father got captured a lot, but again, he was a lot of fun to have an adventure with. These are the people you want to smack in the face every time they get in trouble. They're the obnoxious little pawns whose only purpose is to be rescued, to the point where you just want to say, you know what, let the train hit them. And I'm here to count down the top 11 of them here today. Why top 11? Because I like to go one step beyond. So, sit back and enjoy the top 11 dumbasses in distress. Number 1. Mary Jane Watson. Now I'm going mainly by the movies with this, though I did hear she gets kidnapped a lot in the comics and the cartoon. Yeah, she's nice and all, but it's pretty clear she's just there to be the person Peter saves. I mean, let's do a quick count of how many times Peter saves her. 6 times! That's 6 times in 3 movies! Some would say 1 is enough, but 6? Hell, one time was actually in a lunchroom! A fucking lunchroom! Are you kidding me? She can't even eat without somebody having to save her? We honest to God have to protect her from her own food? Put traffic cones around that apple juice, that shit is lethal! How about the fact that the reason Peter stays away from her is because he's afraid that if the enemies find out who he is, they'll kidnap her? Well, she found out in the second film that she was already in peril 5 times before that point. Hell, after she got together with him, she was only kidnapped once. So I guess in a way that's sort of an improvement. The only film where she actually starts to become a 3-dimensional character is in the third one. But even then, ironically, people say there was a little too much of her. And that most of the time it was just her bawling out Peter anyway. Oh, don't worry though, she'll be hanging out of a building in a few seconds. I love Kristen Dunst, but man, Mary Jane is a Mary Payne.
Some dream, huh?
Number 10. Kaylee from Quest for Camelot. Okay, this chick wants to be a knight at a time when women aren't allowed to be knights. Well, good for her going against the norm and wanting to be strong. But the only problem is she isn't strong. And I don't mean physically, I mean in any sense. All she ever says is how she's going to be the world's greatest knight, and yet every other second she always has to be rescued by a blind man. A friggin' blind man! Well, maybe you could say she was just starting out, and she only got better as time went on. But no, she gets captured again, and has to be saved this time by a chicken. A friggin' chicken!
Lady, at your service.
Lady, if you're put in situations where a blind man and a chicken can do better than you, maybe knighthood shouldn't be your first option.
Well, I see no reason why I can't come along.
I can think of only one time where she saved the blind guy, but that's it. Every other time, it's just her getting captured and yet still boasting about how she's gonna be the world's greatest knight. Young lady, you definitely need a career change.
I want to save Camelot.
Number 9. Wheelie and Short Round from the Temple of Doom. Say what you will about the other Indiana Jones movies, but they had some kick-ass leading ladies. Marion? Awesome. Dr. Schneider? Awesome. That Russian dominatrix? Weird, but still awesome. And then you got Willie. That pain in the ass who never shut the fuck up.
We're not sinking! We're crashing! Grab on!
She contributes nothing, constantly has to be saved, and all she does is bitch and moan throughout the entire film.
Oh, wait a second, Andy! I can't go to Pancop! I'm a singer! Oh, I need to call my agent.
Oh, now that's a lady I want to fight for.
The biggest trouble with her is the noise.
She's so annoying that Indy would rather make out with naked statues. Hey, at least they're quiet.
Hey, I'm right here.
But she's not the only one who's a pain in Kali's balls. Short Round is also an obnoxious little fortune cookie.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potatoes.
I don't know if it's mean to say or not, but his accent drives me nuts. Actually, I take it back. It's not the accent, it's the fact that he screams every line with that accent.
You say to stand against the wall. It wasn't me. It's you. Wake up,
God, shut up!
Come on, let's go, let's go.
I could watch that scene where he gets smacked like a bajillion times. Joy! I also love that scene where he breaks through the bridge. Fall!
Not very funny.
To his credit, he does help Indiana Jones out once in a while, and I guess it is pretty cool that he can drive a friggin' car. But most of the time, he's just being rescued from the bad guys, and screaming all the way. Indy, if you honestly think these two are worth dying for, they ain't. Trust me when I say, your Willie is not worth saving when she acts like, well, your Willie.
You know nuts. He's crazy.
Number 8. Robin. Just about every variation of this character has him as the whining little decoy. I mean, just look at what he's wearing. Batman is dressed in black so he can blend into the shadows. He wears the mask so he can strike fear into the heart of his enemies. Robin just looks like a bullseye. He seems to just scream, "Hit me!" Everybody knows it and everybody makes fun of it. Even Tiny Toons.
Someone I can train. Someone who can wear a bright red uniform and draw all the fire, attention. So what do you say, decoy, the pig hostage?
I take it there's little point in discussing retirement benefits.
He was pretty annoying in the animated series too. He just seemed like that dweeb that was gonna try and represent the younger, hip crowd.
No problemo, Batman.
Yeah, remember how many times he said that growing up?
Don't look at me. I flunked Greek mythology, remember?
Surprisingly, the character was a little more badass when they switched him to the younger kid. But even then, he had his fair share of hostage situations too. Actually, Robin was one of the few things that the movie Batman Forever did okay. They did make us feel the pain that he was going through, and shockingly even managed to turn that bullfighter cape into a pretty cool costume. It's the only time Robin actually sort of looked classy. But even in that movie, by the end, he had to be rescued 1, 2, 3 times in the entire third act. And of course, do we even need to discuss Batman and Robin? Yeah. How'd his dialogue go again? Well, he may be the world's most famous sidekick, but he's also one instance where you just want to say, maybe I should let him drop.
Holy migraine!
Number 7. Inspector Gadget. Yeah, let's ignore that piece of dick movie and just focus on the cartoon. Inspector Gadget really pisses me off because he has all the power in the friggin' world. He's like RoboCop times 10. He has every gadget for every problem. And what always ends up happening? His damn 10-year-old niece always has to save him.
I think I know what they're up to.
Good God, why didn't they just give her all the cool little gadgets? I mean, true, she has that book and that watch, but couldn't they just put all that stuff in an intelligent person? In fact, how cool would it be if Penny got all those gadgets? Pretty fucking sweet. As much as Penny always had to rescue her uncle, it was sort of a strange circle of abductions they had going on. When Inspector Gadget gets in trouble, Penny has to save him. When Penny gets in trouble, Brain has to save her. But when Brain gets in trouble, Corporal Cape Man has to save him. But if Corporal Cape Man gets in trouble, well, the fucking world blows up. Bottom line, just don't rely on this idiot. He's a fucking lemming. I guess he made the show fun for kids, but man, someone seriously needs to give this inspector a clue.
You can count on me, Chief. I'm always on duty.
Number 6. Lois Lane. Well, you know, you can't have a dumbass in distress without mentioning her. A lot of this depends on what version you go to, though. If you go to the older comics, she's just a dimwit who needs rescuing. Black and white show, dimwit. Old cartoon, dimwit. By the time the movies hit, though, she was a little bit more developed and grew much more attitude. The same thing can be said for the animated series, where they turned her into a much more cynical and enjoyable character. But you could make the argument that this only made her worse. In the old days, it was just common for women to just be the reward for the man, and therefore be underdeveloped. But with the movie and the cartoon, they developed her as a tough, no-nonsense person. She would do anything to get the story and was determined to put her all into it. So really, her getting kidnapped all the time doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess the idea is that she's way in over her head, but they establish that she can be really smart. And a smart person wouldn't constantly need someone to save her. She could probably take care of herself. By doing this, she becomes less of a character and more of an annoyance. You just want to say, dude, don't go in there, you know what's gonna happen!